but we're here. We're good and alive. So, um, all right. So we're good for tonight.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, my question for tonight was, um, I remember sending you the list of everybody's email. I don't know if the phone number was included in that, but my question was, were you going to send out the link to them, or did you want me to send out the link for
For the
tonight's
Zoom
meeting?
link for
Yeah.
tonight's meeting, I can send them. I can email them the link. That's fine.
All right.
I'll do
Because I
that.
reminded them yesterday. I had a brief meeting, and hopefully a part of part of what we talk about today, I'll talk about that meeting concerning the campaign. There was a little bit of uh I don't know what word to call it. It wasn't confusion. It was just there was a lot of discussion on what it should be named and where it should go. So I want to make sure I clear that up when we talk today. But I had a meeting with them, and I reminded them that tonight was the meeting.
That's,
I just I wasn't sure for myself, which link to send them, or if you were going to send them the link. So I just want to make sure we're on the same page where that's concerned.
yeah, I'll send them the link. It'll be this link, the one we're using today. So
Okay.
I'll send that out. And then my thought process for tonight, um, right, it's deacons, trustees, and elders. Okay. Um, I figured we'd at least start to just take a look at the org chart. And how I want to present this is more from the angle of this is what we've been working on, but we want to hear your voice too.
Okay.
So if we're missing something, is there anything that's off or anything we need to adjust? I'll walk them through how we arrived at the org chart in the different areas, the vision, strategy, that aspect. And then I'll let them know. So it's like vision, strategy, structure, and then the systems, right? So the systems, once we identify who's responsible for what, and there might be some people already who are responsible for things, so we just got to pop their names into the org chart. Then we'll work on some of these systems, which will end in identifying and writing those systems down so that way we can make sure it's like a manual for driving the car. Like once you know how to drive the car, you don't look at the manual much. But in the very beginning, or if a light goes off, you're like, wait, what does this light mean? So, we'll spend most of our time building and making sure that everybody's clear on the systems. And that'll entail some one-on-one conversations with them, that kind of stuff. And just kind of laying out what the next couple of months will look like.
Okay.
Um, so that's kind of my thought for tonight. The only
Okay.
thing that I think we may need to just, and I don't know if this is a discussion with them or there's a discussion me and you, is going back to the org chart, who is going to be responsible for doing what. I looked at the document you sent me, and so let's take, for example, Elder Charisse. Let me just share my screen.
Yeah, and I have it in front of me also. So
Sorry, give me a second. So when I think of Elder Charisse, my question is, she's an elder, but she's doing everything here, right? The communication role. So is it an offense to her if we plop her here versus putting her up here?
okay, when you so I'm not following yet. Let me see. You Do I need to make that bigger, or is it on your end?
Do you see
Okay,
it?
I got you. I can see it now.
Yeah.
So say
Okay.
it again. Would it be offense to her if you did what?
So when I look at the document you sent me that has a breakdown of her responsibilities, she
Right.
pretty much handles this role here, the
The one that
communication
says
role.
communication. Okay.
Yeah, so so the doc you sent me, she's handling the website, YouTube, and I didn't separate YouTube from social media, so I would kind of keep them the same.
That's
Um,
fine.
but YouTube, audio and video, and graphics, which we have as media.
Right.
Um, I just ordered it. Yeah. So as an elder, are we okay with her being here, or does she have to be a peer, as the administrator over that area because she is one of the elders?
So the way that you have that laid out, um, administration. Yeah. All right. So let's see what you're saying. So everything under administration, you have communication, maintenance and cleaning, finances and HR, leadership development, and baby dedication. I got what you mean. Yeah. So I think the best way to do that is, I guess I was looking at that as her being over. So that administration area is not actually, you have that separate from connecting with God, connecting with each other, and connecting with our community. That's a
Yeah.
separate entity.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
see what you're
So,
saying.
yeah.
Okay, so here's what I would say. Here's what I would say. Because, so she's not going, I can tell you that, I can tell you a question I can answer now. She's not going to be, because she's an elder, she's not going to be the communications leader. We
Okay.
can get it, we can get somebody different from that. But and again, just to be clear, she doesn't do all of those. All of those areas have a leader and they report to her. So that's how that works.
Got it.
All right.
Okay.
So person for the website and YouTube reports to her, audio video reports to her. So that's kind of how it is. So my question then is, if we're calling that, hmm, is over those areas and we want to give that area a name. So I think I would approach it, Ariel, from the point of you guys are already over areas, right? For the sake of structure, and let me know if I'm saying this right.
Yeah.
For the sake of structure, we just need to label or give some of these things general names
Hmm.
so that we can so that an org chart makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. So what I presented with the elders over areas, we're just saying now we're giving those areas general names. So we have to have connecting with God, connecting with each other, connecting with our community. Those have to
Hmm.
be designations because of how we accomplish our vision statement because it's the strategy of how we're accomplishing our vision statement.
Yes.
But with all that we do, there has to be other there has to be a few other designations, if you will. So
Hmm.
so I'm saying that to say, so let's take Elder Sharice, right?
Yeah.
With website, YouTube, audiovisual, none of those they're not directly related to connecting with God, connecting with each other, connecting with our community. They may have some overlap, but they're
Or
not exact.
administration. Like, see, administration is the same level.
Okay, yeah. So that's kind of my point. So we're calling her area um, administration. Am I saying that? Is that what you have in mind?
No, well, so here's what I'm asking is, so we've got elders, right? We've got deacons, and the trustees, we don't have to really worry about because the trustees serve one function, and that's primarily finances, right?
Finances and building, right? Anything that has to do with the physical building, yes.
Right. So we can kind of cross them out for a second. I mean,
Okay,
technically, maintenance would fall under the trustees, right?
yes, that's correct.
Okay. So, so, so the trustees are kind of finances, and then anything building related. Okay. So their role is literally connected right back to their their title per se. But the deacons and elders, their responsibilities are tied into a little bit more of like what we are doing, like the structure and stuff, like the
Yeah,
org chart.
yeah.
So the reason I asked about Elder Sharice is because technically, if we remove the elder part and we just looked at her Sharice, this is what she's currently doing. She would be the leader over communication if we just transferred it over. When we add the title elder, is this a diminishing role to put her under someone else? Because someone might be the administrator, or is she the person who we just need to bump up and elevate to administration anyway? And she would identify leaders in these areas and be able to report and give it direction.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So yes to that, with a question, I guess. So
Okay.
yeah, she would have to be. So to answer your question specifically, um, she wouldn't be the leader over communication if she would have to be the leader over administration if we're going to do it
Yes.
that way. My only challenge, and it's just the way that we have it set up now, is if you're saying administration also, if you're saying administration is not just, um, if administration just doesn't cover communication, but it covers maintenance, finances, leadership development,
Mhm.
and baby dedications, then I guess the confusion on our part would be, um, well, there wouldn't be any confusion because we don't necessarily have leaders over all of them, and those
Yeah.
are administrative tasks. I guess because I have an administrative assistant, that's what I'm trying to merge in. Because we have an administrative assistant who works in the office, right? I feel
Mhm.
like if I take out, I would need to take out, like she handles like we're gonna dedicate a baby, she does all that paperwork. She sends out the application and all that other stuff. She
Mhm.
does um the partnership classes. She sets up the interview and all that other stuff. So that's more of an administrative task. So when I think of administration, I guess I'm trying to separate the difference between administration in general and administrative tasks.
Yeah. So she's a peer, right? Kathy?
Kathy does a lot of the administrative tasks. Yes,
Yes. But she's your administrative assistant.
that's correct.
Right. So if I'm seeing this clearly, the reason that this is a little bit of a bump in the road is because she's technically not operating as your administrative assistant. She's operating as the church's administrative assistant. So she's doing work for the church technically, like,
Yeah,
you know, versus where I think eventually we want to head to is she becomes a communicating piece for you to these different areas. She's handling, like you and her should be meeting 2 to 3 times a week on, hey, what are we doing? Hey, did we set up this meeting? I need to talk with this person. Check in on this person. Did they get done? And she kind of operates a little bit like an executive assistant in the sense that
yeah,
she's not handling personal stuff. She's doing follow-up and checking in. Um, that doesn't mean that she can't do baby dedications because, we have, at the end of the day, whoever's up here may not be available to do this during the daytime, right? Well, that's her function. So she may play a little bit of support, but I don't think. And if it throws us off, we can change this from administration to operations or to another title, or change her title. Either way, it's just so that way the names aren't the same. But I see because of admin, she's my admin, but this is administration, and there might be some
yeah.
overlaps. You can always remove this and just make it part of her function and what she does in terms of the administration. But ultimately, I think in order for this to work, what I feel like her role needs to shift to a little bit more is primary communicator on your behalf, and making sure that all of the team members are clear on what's needed, when it's needed, getting back to you, communicating so that way she's kind of making sure that that stuff is happening. So you know what I'm saying? So she's assisting you in leading the church, not necessarily doing work for the church itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. So I think, and I look at her more of the church's administrative assistant than mine.
Okay.
So those could be two different people then, right?
Yeah.
She could eventually. So since the way it started out is she was my administrative assistant, but as things got busier, she just takes care of the entire church. If I could find a person to, if she can shift to just being my, whatever we want to call that, and
Hmm.
then I still get an administrative assistant for the church, those would be two separate roles. So I'm clear on that part,
Yeah.
right?
And I think the question with that becomes, um, is there something that she is doing as the church, administrative assistant that's not reflected on this org chart?
Um, yeah, there's a bunch of things I would say that has to do with administration. So I go over the church's calendar with her once a month, the beginning of the month. So things like
Mhm.
that. Thing that's, like I said, anybody wants to dedicate a baby, we announce in church, you can call the office, talk to Kathy. So every phone call from every leader, um, the church's calendar, she sends out the weekly communication. We don't have a bulletin, so it's an email that goes out with communication.
Yeah.
Um, we use our, she runs the database. So there's a lot of things. I guess all of that to me, all of that is under administration, and so that's why. I guess that's why I just want to, before we present it like this to the team, because I know there's going to be a lot of questions on that. And to be honest, Elder Didi is more of an, because I don't know if you remember, even though she doesn't function that way anymore, she was the church administrator.
Yes.
So she
Yes.
did, so everything you have here, I mean, she didn't do leadership development, but so I'm trying to do several things at the same time. I'm trying to get her out of what she once did, even though she's still doing a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
Kathy's doing, a few things, but then if we want to bump Sharice up to being in charge of administration, I think it just makes it, it's going to make it uh, more confusing than us easing into us taking what we already do
Hmm.
and giving it a name. I don't know how else to say that.
Yeah.
So
And I guess what I'm suggesting is, um, because I don't know what Kathy is doing, like if there was, then we can take some of that stuff and decide, okay, is some of this stuff that should be done by the departments,
I see.
whether they're volunteer or not, and versus is this stuff. So, for example, if we look at this baby dedication, um, does Kathy need to do it? Maybe, unless we create a way that the volunteers can do it,
Yeah.
you know, um, because the more that we can give away to the volunteers, the more higher level work she can do for you.
All right, let me ask you this, Ariel,
Mhm.
because I don't want to. I want to go with. I want to go with the structure that makes more sense, even if we have
Yeah,
to redo what we do. I don't mind that.
yeah.
My question to you though is, in presenting an org chart tonight, how far can we go? Because I know you said you want to do vision and then structure and then strategy and then vision, strategy, structure, and then systems. So I guess my
Yeah,
question is, do we have to, can we work with connecting with God, connecting with each other, connecting with our community? We can put in the other thing, administration, but we can say we're still, within the next
absolutely.
couple of weeks.
And I think this is why I hopefully the way I want to present it to the team this evening is, guys, this is what we've been messing with and working with. This is not set in stone.
Okay.
This is an opportunity for you to help us see what's missing and what do we need. Here's where the principle that I'm going to be able to push and say is, guys, vision, right? God's purpose. The vision, build wholeness through relationships by connecting with God. This is God's plan and purpose for your ministry. So now we need to make the adjustment of what is the plan what are the things we need to do on a regular basis that's going to help us fulfill that vision? Well, we've identified three so far: connect with God, connect with each other, connect with community. And then obviously there's a section, we call it administration, we can call it operations, but there is some support components that connect with God, connect with each other, connect with community are going to need. And that's what this operational administration section needs.
Okay.
I know that there might be some things that are missing. So as we go over the org chart, I want you to point those out. There might be some things that are different that maybe require some explanation. I want you to point those out so it gives me an opportunity to explain. And maybe we're seeing it from a wrong angle. You might see something we don't, but conversation helps us to see those things, right? Because ultimately, what we want is to position the church to be at its optimal best. Because if the structure is right, then we're going to be able to follow through on the strategy and fulfill the vision. But it requires that level of alignment, you
Okay.
know,
That sounds good.
you know, yeah. And then if you have like a job description for Kathy, it would be great if I can just maybe see or maybe she can put together a list of things that she does and
I'm sending
um
that to you right now. I'm sending that to
okay,
you right now as we speak.
okay, perfect. That way we can just talk about that and you know um maybe in the next week or so I can set up a time with her and ask her further questions and really just understand what she's doing to the fullest so we can and why? Because there might be some things that she's doing because this is the way we've always done it. And it's like, oh, well, there might be a better way. And then there's some
Right.
things that we're doing because we have to do this because we need X, Y, and Z, and they can't do it during the day because they work full-time jobs. And so, right. So whatever the rationale is, help me understand that again, my goal isn't to change for the sake of change. My
Right.
goal is making adjustments for the sake of getting us to a place that we're more effective.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And I just have a feeling there'll be some negotiating, for lack of a better term, on both ends.
Mhm.
Like, I'm sure there's some things we'll say, no, here's how, here's what we have set up. And as you said before, you're going to do what we say. But if it's something that you, after so many years of doing this, if there's something that you notice that says, listen, you can do what you want, but from my experience, this is, and we understand that. But
Yeah.
I am certain that a lot of the change will come on our end because, again, we don't want to be the old wineskin trying to pour in new wine. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we just want to make sure that um, that we're doing this. We want to make sure that we're flowing. That's the best way to say it.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
I
So
think and ultimately when I have these when I have this conversation, um the question becomes, well, what's the ultimate goal? Like what are we trying to accomplish? And then once we are all on the same page on that, then the next question becomes, are we positioned? to do that, right? Like are we structured to be able to do that? And if the answer is no, then, hey, let's make some adjustments so that we can be. Because sometimes, and I heard this a long time ago, big doors swing on small hinges. And so sometimes we've got to make an adjustment to the hinge to see the big swing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm gonna plug in. I just got a low battery alert. I'm gonna plug in.
sure.
So if I get cut off, I'll be back. But I should be able to plug this in. Good. Um, this might seem like a random question, but let me ask you this: when you work with churches, right?
Mhm.
I'm sure, depending on how long the church has been in existence versus newer churches, what do you find, or is it easier to work with younger in terms of existence, new churches, or churches that have been in existence for a while and they just can't break away from their old structures?
Honestly, it's not it's not old versus new.
Okay.
It's desperate. The more
Mm,
desperate a
mm,
pastor is and the church is, the more they're like, we need to get to this finish line. We don't know how to get there.
okay.
Help me get there. And it's
Okay.
just like it just becomes easier that way.
I got you.
Um,
That makes sense.
yeah. And so even success or not success, because I mean I've worked with some churches that are I have a church right now that's they're in the 400s. When we first started working together, they were in about the 200s. So they were doing pretty good. And they came to me and they were like, we are, like we stink with the assimilation. Our assimilation is the worst.
Mm,
We know if we got this thing together, we would double in size like overnight.
mm,
So what do we need to do? And it was like carte blanche, like, you know, here's our team. You tell them what you want to do, like to that point. And again, and they were right. They're averaging somewhere about 400 now, except for major events. Like for Easter, not Easter, for New Year's Eve, they had over 600 people, which was a nightmare for their usher team. They weren't expecting that many people. They
okay.
can't even fit that many people. So yeah, that was a different issue that needs to get fixed. But it
Okay.
was a good issue, which is I needed
Right.
to remind them, hey, I'd rather you tell me, your ushers were overworked because you had that many people than your ushers were sitting in the services because there was no one there to usher, you know. So,
Exactly.
so
All
yeah.
right. I got you. Yeah. I'm only saying that because, it's not like we're an old church. I mean,
Hmm.
we've been in existence for 16 years now. October was 16 years. And I'm not, you know, we're not at the place where we have to keep something. That wasn't my suggestion. I was just curious as we
Yeah.
were going through this, and I said there's some things that I know that we're gonna sort of keep, I guess, the way that we do things. But I'm open. Listen, I'm an open person, and I think the team is that way also. We just may have, a few people on the team who, you can't see anything except the way you see it.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens. But I think for the most part, man, I think that once we have this part set
Hmm.
up, I think we'll flow from there. But this might be the most difficult part. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think for some people, the most important thing is not just what we're doing, but why we're doing it.
Okay.
And the why kind of helps. So,
Yeah,
um,
that's true.
but yeah, I
That's
invite that, man. Like, don't just please understand, like, anything that feels like tension is absolutely fine with me because I rather tension face to face than tension behind the scenes.
right. Okay.
Right? Tension behind the scenes is not good. That's not healthy.
Right.
You know. We used to call it water cooler talk. No water cooler talk. Handle it in the meeting. You know. So I invite that I
Okay.
prefer because again, there might be stuff we're missing.
All right. All right. So I'll let you continue with what you're saying about the org chart. Just let me know how I see you put the logo there. I'm glad you got it.
Yeah.
Um, but continue with that to make sure at least we're on the same page for tonight. There isn't anything. I got what you said about this
Mhm.
is we're inviting you to help us to fill in what's missing. So I got that part. I just want to make sure that the foundation is there in terms of
Yeah. Yeah, what I'm looking at is this is look at the end of the day, there's roles and then there's leadership levels. And what I'm asking specifically for an elder Sharice or just the elders in general is they currently have roles. But in this new structure, their current roles don't quite match their leadership levels. So do we want them to be married to the role? Do we want to shift them to a leadership level? And there's only so many seats also. I mean, we've got four, major department heads here. So there might be a deacon that you decide, hey, he might be the best person, or it might be all elders. I know the trustees have their function, you know, and so that's more of the question that I kind of have is, you know, looking at the document you sent me. Um, so for example, Pastor Daisy is handling worship. Is she going to be the connect with God person?
yeah, yeah. I get your question. I,
Yeah.
so she's worshiping Arts Children's Church and Women's Ministry. So
Yeah,
those are kind of
and we separated those into two different areas.
okay. We did.
All right. So right, because the women's are kind of like under this, and I called it family life just to give it a little bit of a branch. Um, but the children's, so the children or Harvest Kids. All right, so we've got the Harvest Kids, and then but then we also have the worship. And so we can put her in those different boxes, or we can elevate her and say, hey, this is your area. Your job is to help us connect with God, or hey, your job is to help us connect with others. Um, so it means a little bit of a shift, but I
Yes.
wouldn't know which one would be best.
Yeah. All right. So then we'll have to present it that way, Ariel, because and it's not like they've been doing. We just set this up back in what are we in January? We set
Yeah.
this up in September.
Okay.
So it's not like there's a lot of history with them doing this,
Got it.
and it's not like they've already met with their teams and they have a certain flow. I don't think anybody's had one meeting with their teams yet. I don't think, unless they told me otherwise.
Now,
So
Is Pastor Daisy your wife?
yes,
Okay. So when it comes to the women's ministry, is she the primary speaker?
yes,
Okay, so see that to me is easy because I can have a women's ministry leader whose job is to set up the meetings, whose job is to, whatever events we're doing, she's executing. She touches base with Pastor Daisy to get her vision for certain things. Um, but the person whose name is here doesn't have to be the primary visionary. They just need to be the person who can execute the stuff.
all right, listen, I like this, and I think it'll be a challenge for us because I'm sure once you present this, and then I meet with the elders, there's going to be
Mhm.
a conversation on are we switching pieces like a chessboard,
Yeah,
or are we? And I like this structure. I like what I see because to me it makes more sense in terms of alignment, like family life, married women, men, um, because we do have a married couples ministry. We do have a men's ministry. We do have a women's ministry. They don't meet a lot, but that makes sense. Next gen to me, that makes sense. Harvesting, young adults.
hmm
I think the only, well, again, so the way that I'm looking at next gen is children's church, which is Harvest Kids.
Yep.
Right now we have harvesting. What I would like to do is remove that word and call it a junior high and a high school ministry so we can separate them because
Got
that's
it.
what next gen is. Right now, the harvesting has both junior high and high school in it.
Yeah.
So that's why young adults. I don't know if young adults are considered a next gen ministry, but I guess it can be.
I mean, we talked about it in the last meeting.
We
I
did.
mean,
Okay.
we can easily move young adults to family life. That's easy too.
Yeah.
Um, because the one thing I will, I mean, and I forgot how we phrased it, but we did talk about young adults being in a stage of life that requires support. I think the stat is that when kids go to college, that's typically the highest rate of kids that turn away from the Lord is in that
Okay.
season. Right. So it would be great to have something to support them. And I think was it Jeff who talked about that being one of his desires? Someone mentioned it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It was Jeff.
so we can move it. I honestly, next gen or family life doesn't matter to me. What matters
Okay.
is
So
that,
so we'll have a conversation with everybody there. Not
yeah,
with
we'll bring
everybody,
that
but
up.
at least with because I think it could fall. I lean more toward family life. Some people may lean toward more toward next gen, but we can put that to the team, like you said. Hey, what do what's your thought?
Yeah, yeah, help us figure this stuff out. Because again, it brings in their thoughts versus it just being us dictating to them. And that usually creates a little bit more buy-in.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and I mean the evangelism one is the one area that I feel like we need to just talk through a little bit further. Um, just to really get some clarity and maybe we can strategize a little bit and create some separation in some areas. So that way there's something we're consistently doing. So like for example, um there's a church in Queens. They were doing like a clothing pantry. I don't know what to call it. Um every Saturday. But that became a way for them to connect with the community. And it was separate from other outreaches that they were doing,
Okay.
right? So it was them serving the community. But again, when you're serving the community, you've got to have in the back of your mind, hey, I'm intentionally building relationships with these people because eventually I want to connect them back to the ministry of the church. I want them to come to a service. I want them to hear the worship. I want them to be able to respond to a gospel message and connect with the body of Christ. So it can't just be I'm doing something and it exists in complete disconnect from what we're doing as a church.
Yeah. So we have an ENL ministry, English as a new language, and we consider that to be a part of outreach. So that would be connect with our community. So
That's English.
maybe we have evangelism. Yeah, maybe put ENL there.
What was it again? ENL?
ENL.
What's the L stand for?
So N as in Nancy, English as a new language, ENL.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. The people who are in this ministry or get impacted by this ministry, what does that look like? Is it happening outside of your church services? Is it something that happens during the week?
Yeah, no, it happens on Saturday mornings from from 9:30 to 12. Some of them have, and it started a year ago. We started that last year. And it's every Saturday. It's free.
Yeah,
And so we have Spanish, Haitian, mostly Spanish and Haitian, and members of our church teach this,
I love
so
that. Do they get they don't have to get a degree, but they get a certificate or something?
what, I'm not sure about that. One of the deacons, Deacon Erica, she's the one in charge of that, so she'll be in the meeting tonight. But she
Yeah.
runs the E&L.
Yeah, because again, what I start thinking about is, um, so they do the E&L. Number one is do we need to would we consider doing some sort of um translation or something that's available during the services, or is there an E&L small group? Do we give them a certificate that we can then do a celebration on a Sunday? Hey. you were here for the last 12 weeks and this is your certificate of completion. Bring your family on Sunday. We're gonna have a ceremony, you
Right.
know. But now you got how many people are you serving on a Saturday?
It's three different classes. There's beginner, intermediate, and advanced. Maybe altogether, maybe like 15 to 20, I think. I'm not exactly sure.
And how many of those 15 to 20 call your church home?
None. Well, I shouldn't say that. I haven't seen her in a long time though, but there was a lady, Diana. No, I'm wrong. The Pakistani family I remember I mentioned to you the Pakistani family before.
Yeah.
So they were part of the classes. The mom, the dad, and I think two of the sisters. And then there was a Spanish lady, Diana. She was a part of the class. She hasn't come to church in a while now.
Mm.
But maybe a handful, maybe like 6 or 7 people. You know,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'd love to see that be a consistent feeder to the church. You
right.
know, we'll use this to help them and, genuine, hey, we're serving you. And then vice versa. Hey, we don't want to just do good works. We want to do works that leads to someone's eventual salvation.
Yeah, of
So
course.
I love that. I think it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, it is.
Um,
It is.
are there any other outreach or things that you're doing like that?
Not, no, not like that. You
Okay.
know, like we'll have different events every once in a while, like the book bag in the fall.
Mm.
Um, we'll try to have something called Harvest Extravaganza. That's the Halloween, the substitution for Halloween. But those are just events. Those are not like ministries. Those are things that we have. Those are that kind of like evangelistic tools, evangelistic outreaches.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna just call them events for now. Um, but again, that's what see, this is what I mean by the team side. So my assumption, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that some of these events are pulled off based on Kathy doing some of the work.
Um, in this case,
Not the ENL, but more like the Halloween alternative and those kind of events.
right. Unless she sends out information, yeah, no, she wouldn't be involved
No. So
in
yes, yeah, so it would be fantastic to have there, like this is the events team that helps pull it off. That doesn't mean that the church doesn't play a role.
right.
Because at the end, all of us are responsible for evangelism. It just means that they're the ones who are putting the muscle to pull the event off. But we want everyone involved in some capacity. And maybe, as they kind of grow, the ministry grows, we're recruiting more people so we can do more events. Um, but again, that's where I would want to have the conversation with that team when we start talking about the systems. So there is a rhythm and there is some sort of next step. So you mentioned Halloween. What was the other one? The other events? Backpack?
No, backpack, back to school, back to school, we call it back to school something. So that's where we give out the book bags and stuff like that. And then we
When does
have,
that happen? Does that happen during the week?
no, it's usually a Saturday.
Yeah, so I
Yeah,
wonder if you moved it, unless it's a full event with it. Um, but I like for so I did some work with another church where they were doing backpack. They wanted to do a backpack distribution. They were going to do it on a Saturday. I had them do it on a Sunday instead and just give out invitations to come get the backpacks. Um, and they ended up getting like 40 first-time guests that Sunday. One, because the community wanted the backpacks, like they needed
right.
it. But two, it was easier for them to do the distribution on the Saturday. On the Sunday, they just did it right after the service. It wasn't like anything major. Then the sermon was about families,
Mm,
parenting or something, right? So now we align outreach with what we're doing on Sunday, so that way
right.
we can, you know, and then you might be doing stuff with the youth that again, that's another opportunity for us to highlight that on a Sunday. And so maybe once a quarter, the youth have a Sunday takeover or the children's ministry get highlighted or something. What does that do? That gets mom and dad to come, and then we have mom and dad make sure that they're inviting uncles and aunts and neighbors and stuff, you know. So again, we're just being intentional about leveraging the relationships we have in the church to reach the people that they're in relationship with, you know, so we expand our reach through families.
Yeah, I got you.
Um, all right, so org chart wise, any additional questions?
No, I mean, we'll, we're going to see. We're going to see how
Yeah,
this goes tonight and when I have my separate meetings with the elders. So nothing
yeah.
on that, but but as I said before, as I stated in the beginning, I do have a question about the giving campaign.
Yes, go for it.
All right. So I don't know if you plan to mention that tonight, but this was so when I had my meeting with the trustees, one of the things we talked about was when are we going to present it to the leaders? Because the idea, according to the process, we wanted to start with the leaders first, have them do the pledge card. So it was supposed to happen in tonight's meeting. What I decided to do was I got the card printed up at Staples on Saturday, and then I had a meeting with those leaders yesterday. So that
Hmm.
was I mentioned in the congregation that we will be having a giving campaign and we'll give them more details. I mentioned the amount. We want to raise $150,000. I said, I believe all of us can do it. So that was just a blurb. That's all.
Yeah.
After service, I had a meeting with the leaders. So not the ministry leaders, but the deacons, the trustees, and the elders.
Hmm.
And, I had myself and Gina, we kind of spoke about just $150,000, $3,000 a year. Even though the numbers say 50 people, $3,000 a year, obviously we're aiming for more than that. So I
Yeah.
think we can do it. So the question came up about so what are we calling, where are we putting the monies, and is it going to be a part of the ministry expansion fund? It was a question mostly by, well, one of the deacons and one of the elders. So when I said, even though it's for the building, we're going to, I said, because the way I pitched it on Sunday morning was we're giving more toward the vision of um, we're giving more toward we're financing vision instead of just a building. And so what I
Hmm.
meant by that was, how many of you hear crying babies on a Sunday morning? I said we need a nursery, and so this will help us to one day be able to start a nursery, whatever we need to buy. So that's kind of how I pitched it. So when we got in a leaders
Yeah.
meeting, they wanted to know, well, why are we? Is it going to be a building fund or is it going to be for a vision for ministry? So some of them were saying, well, isn't that what the tithe is for? Isn't the tithe for the to help ministries? So what I said to them eventually was, listen, it doesn't matter what we call this. It's just that we have to, we felt like after our meeting with Pastor Ariel, we felt like tying it to financing vision would be more beneficial than just tying it to the building.
Yeah.
Some of them agreed with that, some of them did not. And
Hmm.
that doesn't matter to me. My issue is this, or my question is this. If we put this as a part of the ministry expansion fund, which I don't mind, that's restricted income. We can't do anything else with that except purchase the building and maintenance.
Hmm.
If we put this as a whatever we call it, the general campaign, where there's a savings, we can still we can still put some of it toward ministry expansion, but it can be used for other stuff. So
Yeah.
that's where so that's what I was trying to convey. But I guess there was a question on, well, if you don't, we've been telling people about the building for years. Why would we change? Why would we move away from that? And listen, I can go both ways. I just don't want to. I don't want to entrap ourselves, for lack of a better word, because one of the things that I said was, if they offered us the building tomorrow, we have the down payment, but the lenders want to see monies in reserve.
Yeah.
If all of that money is in the minister expansion fund, and this was more of a question, can we call that monies in reserve? Or is monies in reserve more so to pay bills and to, they want to see, a certain amount, like 6 months of being able to pay bills. That
So
to me more is the general why
yeah.
we were keeping the savings account.
So let me just give a disclaimer. I'm not like a bank, so I don't know what they're looking for specifically.
Yeah,
That being said, what I've seen typically is that they want to see not just can you save some money, but what is your regular expenses and income looking like? So for example, the church that I mentioned to you, they are intentionally keeping, and I don't know what the number is, but in their checking account, they're trying to refinance. So in their checking they have to keep at least, I think, 20 or $30,000, some number like that. So that way it shows that it's always in there on a regular basis for the bank's purposes. So I think the advantage that you have is giving yourself flexibility. How I typically would do something like that is I would say, hey, yes, you're right. I would normally take $10,000 from tithes and offerings to cover, ministry expenses for the month of February. But, because we have people giving extra, the $10,000 that would have come out of tithes and offerings, that money we're just going to move over to savings or whatever it is. And this extra money is the money that we're using to cover whatever additional expenses or whatever projects we want to do. Again, the building, we're going to save and you can move money into the designated fund, but it locks you into just that. And so you technically have the resources to do so, the resources to do whatever you want, but it's locked into a specific um, fund versus having the flexibility to say, no, we want to do this, this, or this. We can move our finances this way. Or we can still put money, we can still save it under that fund,
right.
right? But it gives you the flexibility. At the end of the day, right? So you're going to have some people who are all for the building because they've been a part of the church for the longest. Then you're going to have some people who are new who can be like, I don't know what you're talking about, a new building. The one we're in is fine. We're good. We're comfortable, you know. But again, when you talk about crying babies, those are things that you're not just thinking about internally, you're thinking about the needs of the people. And I think that becomes easier. It's easier for me to give $1 to something that I know is going to impact my kids, you know. And that's, am I answering your question?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, and you're saying what I said. I just and I think of a part of because what we were trying to convey, myself and Gina, was like what you just shared.
Mhm.
And I know that already. So it wasn't like I said, Pastor Ariel said. I was saying that based on my own, you
Yeah,
know, like vision and knowledge of the difference between a restricted fund and unrestricted fund. If we have $150,000, if we raise $150,000 and put it into a savings account, we can spend that in four different ways. If we raise $150,000 and put that in the building fund, we can only spend that for building fund.
yeah.
So again, some people say, I think we should make it simple and just call it the building fund. And if we go toward that, then that's fine with me. you know, we just hope the people because the bottom line is not what we say, but what we think the congregation, how we think they're going to respond. That's the bottom line, and
Yeah.
huh?
No, that is the bottom line.
Yeah, and so regardless as to what we say, but I'm going to again, I'm going to make it if our leaders think it's just simpler to say this is the building fund and push for that, then that's what we'll do. I don't, I'm not going to go back and forth with them. I'm just going to make my appeal again, especially if. So here's the here's the crux of the matter for me. If it being the building fund will not allow us to show that we have 6 months of reserves, then I'm going to push for, let's put it in this checking account, in this savings account, and we can put as much as we want from it in the building fund. But it
Yeah.
can't be the other way around. And I think that that makes sense. They should be able to see it that way.
Yeah. Now let me ask you this question. So, because the other side of it is whenever there is a disagreement, let's say you have 10 people in the room. Typically it's like two or three, and the other seven are like, I'm good, yeah, we're
Yeah,
we're for it. You might have two or three who are for it, two or three who are against it, and then the other four are like indifferent, like
yeah.
it's fine either way. Um, so the nays was at 10%, 30%, 60%.
No, it was two, like you said, two or three.
Yeah.
You know,
So two of 30?
no, you mean
Oh,
yesterday?
yeah, how many people were in the room?
No, it was only there were 12 of us maybe.
Okay.
It was just the
Yeah,
deacons, the elders, and the trustees. It was just
yeah, so
us.
two out of the 30, they might disagree, which is okay. Um, and I say that because sometimes what happens is we give more credence to the loudest voice versus how many are echoing that voice.
Right.
Um, and so it might just be as simple as, you know, I get what you're saying, guys. I understand. Um, seven of us are for it, two of us are against it, or eight of us are for it, two of us against it. So we're gonna go this route. It's gonna be one campaign, and we'll see how it goes.
Right.
Right? Like nothing is eternal except for salvation, right? Like
Mhm.
at the end, the building fund's gonna come to an end. So
Right.
let's do it, and then we learn from it and we make it better. A lot of times we put so much pressure in making the right decision, not realizing that that decision, um, we can just learn from the decision and then make it better the next time. You
So,
know.
okay, so and that's fine. I just wanted to make you aware
Hmm.
that that's got to be a part of the agenda tonight.
Got
Just
it.
talking about this, the giving campaign and what we when we met with when you met with the trustees. So what I
Hmm.
want you to talk a little bit about is when you met with the trustees, your suggestion on this giving campaign and what it was for. What
Yeah.
we do with it and how we designate and where we put it is going to be up to us. But your suggestion was, and then whatever you want to, however you want to share that.
Yep. That's
Does
fine.
that put you in the fair? Does that put you in the fair light?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm fine either way. I mean,
Okay.
yeah. At the end of the day, I think the biggest question is, what's going to position us for um, best growth, but in two ways. And I'll say this as a teaching thing that I want you to always keep in the back of your mind. Everything has two purposes. One is the initial purpose in front of us, and the other one is building the right culture. So when we were pulling off this building campaign, obviously the initial goal is to raise a certain amount of funds. But in the process of raising these funds, we're making decisions, and we have issues and things that we need to figure out. That is the process for building the right culture. So that way, hey, this is how we should think about um disagreements. This is how we should think about, this situation, that situation. So that way we're getting to the point where not that things are easier, because at the end, this person, whoever's not in agreement with it is giving you their thoughts. They're like,
Right.
man, I'm thinking about. That means that there's something about the ministry that they are connected to and they feel a part of. Else they'd be quiet and be indifferent.
Right.
Hey, whatever you think, I don't care. It doesn't really matter. You don't
Right.
want that. Simultaneously, we also want a position where we say, hey, we've had some impasse. Now we're making a decision. I just need to know that once we make a decision, you're all committed. We're all in, even if you were against it. And that to me, that's the part of the healthy culture. Like, man, I love the vision in the ministry and you guys so much that I don't necessarily agree with this, but hey, let's go with it and we'll see how it goes. You
Right.
know, um, and that's part of the healthy culture. It just, you know, the I can't remember if I think I don't know if I went over it, but maybe I'll go over it tonight. The five key elements of a strong team.
Yeah, that's fine. You can do that tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see how much things we can fit tonight.
Right, I know. Yeah,
Um,
that's
and then
fine.
ultimately our goal is to have this kind of meeting on on a biweekly basis.
Okay.
So I won't talk about the rhythm tonight. We'll talk through the rhythm and then we'll bring it back to the team. Because for some there might be some people on the team. Again, once we figure out who's doing what,
Yeah,
it'll be easier for us to say, hey, these people, the four key people, we got to meet with them on a regular basis because they're helping us move and shift things. And then there might be some people that we might turn around and say, if we meet with them once a month, that's cool.
I got you. Got
You
you.
know,
The other thing I just remember this is let's if we didn't already, I think we did, Ariel, but the training date. I know we said a Friday. I want to
yes,
make sure that they know that before we get off the call tonight.
yeah, that was it. That wasn't April, was it?
It was
Um,
March.
it was March.
I have
Oh wait,
March 13th. Supposed to be 2 Fridays in a row. If we still want to go with that.
yep, 13th and the 20th, right?
So that's what you have?
Yes, and it was what was the start time? Did we
7
say
p.m.
7? Okay.
Or did you want to make it later?
Let let's tentatively make it 8,
Okay.
um, just in case I have an issue on my end.
Okay.
Um,
And we haven't decided yet what that training is going to be, unless I'm mistaken, unless you already thought through it since the last time we spoke. But
no, yeah, we haven't yet.
okay, but I said that to say we'll determine what that training is based on what we say the first need is. Is that how we're saying it? Or
Yes. Yeah,
I
so
don't know
what
what,
so so the so how we'll proceed is, right, today's our first meeting. Technically today is like day one, right?
okay.
Even though it feels like we've been working for a little bit now. But technically today's day one. We'll go with the teams. The goal is again to we've got vision. We're going to work settle strategy. We're going to settle structure. Then we start building out systems. Based on the building out process, we will either these meetings will be me meeting with individual teams or me meeting with the overall leaders. So it can be a leadership training or it'll be a, hey, let's get together and I need to train your hospitality team and I need to train your membership class, or hey, we're going to host a training on teaching. And, so I can show you guys how to teach the membership class or how to teach X, Y, and Z. All of your best teachers should come, plus everybody involved in the membership team. Right. So we'll kind of look at it that way. Or, hey, we need to provide some training on leadership. So you've got some great people who are leading, but they need some skills on how do we have corrective conversations? How do we do X, Y, and Z from a leadership level? Let's bring them in to do that. So I'll probably know better the details of what we should be covering by the end of February,
Okay.
once we've had some interactions with the teams and stuff.
Makes sense. Makes sense to me. I just want to make sure they have that date and time.
Yeah.
So the 13th and the 20th.
And the 20th.
I'm sorry, yeah, that's right. 8 p.m. training. Okay, good. All right. Anything else you and I should cover today that you wanted to?
Just so for tonight, we'll cover. I'll you'll open up,
Yeah.
welcome everybody, blah blah, and then you'll kind of transition to me, and I'll thank everybody. I'll maybe give a little bit of a glimpse of my background and stuff,
Please
and then
do.
we'll
Please
jump
do.
right, and then we'll jump right into, hey, here's what we've been working on so far. Vision, strategy, structure, then systems. What does that mean for you guys? Well, in a moment, I'm going to show you here's the vision, here's what the strategy is, there's the purpose behind it. Hey, here's what the org chart looks like. We're going to start working on the systems, and as we go through it, I'll just, hey, give me feedback, give me questions. And then once we cover that, we'll go into um we'll do the giving campaign stuff,
Yeah.
and then we'll figure out the five key elements. If the key elements of a team, strong team, if we have the time for it, then we'll do it. If we don't, then we don't.
Okay.
Well, it's not like this will be the last time we ever connect.
Right. Right. Right.
Hey.
All right. That's fine.
Uh,
All right. That sounds good. That sounds good. So when we get off, how soon do you think you can send the leaders the link for tonight so they can have it?
um Before one.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
I'll send
fine.
it before one.
That's fine. All right, man.
All right,
Looking forward for
Pastor.
tonight's the first meeting.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it. Anything else? Anything got you nervous? Or you feeling okay overall?
No, I'm okay overall. Listen, it's something we all voted for this unanimously, so I know we want it.
Now we
It's
got
just
it.
it's just a matter of us now making it work, and
Yeah,
it's gonna happen. So I'm
yeah,
good.
yeah. And I think what'll happen is this initial stage is probably the most challenging just because of the adjustments.
Yeah,
But everything else, I mean, the other stuff is work too. Like, don't get me wrong, doing outreach is not easy.
yeah, I know.
Following up and staying on top of people, like all of those systems take effort and energy and work.
Yeah,
Um, but that's kind of what the kingdom requires, right? Like, I mean, we can just come and do church and receive and then go home, or we can make kingdom impact. And kingdom impact requires some sacrifice, you know. So, I think the people are willing. And I think the other thing I might have to introduce today is just the concept behind Ephesians 4:12. Because I want them thinking that way. I don't want your leaders thinking I got to do everything. I want them thinking, who's coming with me?
yeah.
Who am I
I'm fine
bringing
with that.
along?
I'm
You
fine with
know?
that. As you pray about tonight, man. However, the Spirit of God leads you to do what you got to do.
Yeah. Sorry. I just had to switch my legs and I felt it. It's when I was younger, I was in a cab and I didn't get into the car accident. The cab driver did. And so I've had a pinched nerve and a bulging disc since then. And so
Oh
every
boy.
so often it'll flare up. And
Oh
my
boy.
my my kids don't understand it. So
That's
they
nice.
think that they can just jump on me and wrestle with me and I'm fine. And I'm like, okay, guys, you win. I quit.
You win. You win.
You win for now, you
All right,
know.
man.
All right. All right. Well, I'll see you tonight, Pastor.
All right, let me pray for that back for you before we hang up, all
Oh,
right?
thank you.
So, Father, again, we thank you for what is going to happen and what's been happening, what you've ordained, Lord Jesus, for Church of the Harvest. Thank you for allowing us to um, do this part and get this part of the kingdom right. It does take structure, strategy, vision, and systems, Lord God. And so we pray that we would be able to just align ourselves and come in line and flow easily with what's going to happen tonight. Father, I pray for Ariel's body. Lord, you see the thing in his back. Father, we pray the word of faith tonight, right now. Pray the word of faith that you would touch that herniated disc, the bulging, the pain, the flare up. Lord, would you allow just his bones and joints and sinew, everything that has to do with the spine and his back, Father, would you allow it to function properly, oh God? First, bring relief from the pain, I pray in the name of Jesus, and the burning and whatever is happening, Lord God. And Lord, we want to speak healing because that's what we believe in. We just don't believe in, Lord, the um, natural things like crossing every I, dotting every I, crossing every T, but we believe in the supernatural also. We believe in divine healing. And so, Father, that's the benefit of, of, of working within the kingdom, of being within the kingdom. And so, Father, we want to declare that with your stripes we're healed. And I pray for Ariel right now, his back. Lord God, touch that spot exactly where it is. And we pray that you would heal this man of God. In the name of Jesus, I pray. Amen. All right, brother.
Pastor, thank you.
Yeah, man. I will see you tonight.
See you tonight.
All right, bye-bye.
God bless. Bye.